What's going on YouTube? Had a subscriber message me and asked me to do a care video on tegus and just kind of everything you need to know about them. First thing I wanted to start off with was enclosure sizes. You can do really two different ways. I do more of a smaller enclosure, but have a large 8-foot by 7-foot free roam area that has a soaking dish in it. I keep a heat lamp above the soaking dish for them, and they can just kind of, do the thing back and forth in and out of the cages. Right now they're in formation, so they're not doing much of anything but sleeping. So you can do that, or you can go with more of just a larger enclosure if you're not going to let them free roam anywhere. I wouldn't suggest anything smaller than like an 8-foot by 4-foot for an adult. If you have two adults, you might be all right with one that big, but they're definitely going to need, plenty of time out of cage still, because tegus like to explore, their surroundings daily. Usually a couple times a day, they'll be, walking around, checking everything out. So it's kind of not really a good thing to try to put too much, try to plant anything like that in there, because all they're going to do is uproot them or walk all over them, and it's really just a waste of money and time. So, pretty much just a simple enclosure, a hide, water dish, their heat, and maybe some, logs to climb on, something like that, but nothing really, plant-wise or anything, any decorations, I'd say. They're just going to, have them tore up and dug into the ground real fast. So really that's about it for enclosures. Just better plan to have a big one. And other thing I want to talk about was like their diet. There's kind of two different options you could do. I do the rodents, ground turkey, and a little bit of egg, maybe a little bit of monitor tegu diet, and fruits. I've heard that you can get away with not feeding fruits and by doing just beef liver and extra vitamins and stuff for them. I don't do any beef liver. I do only fruits and the other rodents and turkey and stuff like that. The fruit is good for them for their shedding and stuff, and really just good for their bones and muscles and everything like you'd expect. Sometimes you'll have them where they don't want to eat the fruit as much. A good thing to do is kind of do eggs and turkey and some fruit and mix it all up real good together. And then they don't really have a choice. They can't really be picky. They're just kind of forced to eat it. And over time, they'll, get into it more and they'll start eating it. When I got my male, he didn't like fruit at all, and now, he'll lick a plate clean of just fruit with no meat on it. So, over time, they get used to it and they'll start to like stuff. You just got to kind of stick with it and go from there. Another thing with the diet is you got to be prepared for an adult to eat a lot. My male will eat 6 adult mice in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes. So, be prepared to have a large belly to feed. A lot of problems I see is people buy them, they're cool as babies, they get bigger, and next thing you know, they, can't afford to feed them enough, and then, they're real skinny, and it's just a big problem with them is people think they're really cool as babies, and they're, always say they're real tame and everything, but then they don't, when you hear a 4-foot lizard, it sounds pretty big, but then when you see one, it's a completely different story. So you always want to be prepared for anything you get. Always plan ahead with anything, retic, berm, large monitors. You're going to need a large enclosure and a lot of, food to feed them. So it's one thing to think about. Another thing is just overall like temperaments. Luckily, none of my baby blues have had any kind of aggression. None of them have tried to bite, tail whip. They'll run a little bit from you, but once you pick them up, they're usually calm real quick. 2-3 minutes, they're calm. And biggest thing is just showing them that attention. If you only reach in their cage every once in a while, pet them a little bit, don't pick them up. The older they get, the more aggressive they're going to get. With males, you're going to, in the maybe 9-month range to maybe a year, they'll, start spazzing out on you. They'll be going through, their hormones will be going crazy, and, don't be surprised if you have a male if he turns on you and, has an aggressive period for a while there. But, they'll calm back down. My male, when it's breeding season, he doesn't really like to be touched, messed with too much. He's kind of, just wanted to get with the females, so it's kind of one thing to look at. Females, I haven't noticed any kind of aggression changes ever, except for when Tina laid her eggs. For a couple weeks after that, she was very cage aggressive. She bit me on the hand one time when I was trying to feed her. I don't know if she was really trying to get me or just trying to get the mouse and accidentally got my hand. But, stuff like that can happen. But you just want to give them plenty of attention, constant, handling, and, eventually they'll be as tame as can be. And, that's one reason why I like the Tegus so much is, anything can be tamed down, but Tegus, it just almost comes natural if you give them that attention. And, even if you don't give them as much attention as you could, they'll still be pretty tame. I've never really seen too many that are, out of the cage aggressive. Most of them are little cage aggression, and then you get them out and they're perfectly fine. So, to stick with it, and, it'll be worth it once they get a little bit older and kind of calm down and get out of that teenage spunk and stuff. Really, other than that, there's not, a whole lot you need to know about them. They're not the hardest thing to take care of. They just take up so much space and time and food, and, it's a lot like a dog. But I would say more expensive, quite a bit more expensive than a dog. If you have to go to a vet, a lot of vets, you're going to be anything minor to test, stuff like that, you could spend $100 to $150. So, just always be prepared for anything like that. You never want to get anything that, if something happens, you can't take care of it anymore, food-wise and closure-wise, because all you're doing is hurting the animals by doing that. When people buy these Burmese pythons because they think they're cool, and then, when they reach 8 feet and, they're have some cage aggression when they want to feed and stuff, then people, don't want them anymore, and, they either get dumped or, you have that problem. We have a lot of it here in St. Louis. Not too long ago, there was a 3-foot gator found in a pond. We've had one Burmese python, I think, found that was like 6 feet, somebody found somewhere. So there's been, cases where people just, can't sell them because they're so big, or for whatever reason they decide to dump them. So, always be prepared and do your research and think about, what you're getting into and if you're ready to do that. Other than that, that's about all I got. If anybody has any other questions or comments, feel free to leave them. Other than that, thanks for watching, guys.